morning, everybody. Thank you all again for joining us for this fifth session of the Women and Minorities in Business series. My name is Billy Roberts with Locus, formerly Virginia Community Capital. We are a community development financial institution, or a CDFI, that we're often called. We provide lending, investing, and community innovation services. If you haven't received any information on our new name and would like to learn more, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions directly after the session. We are delighted to have you join us again for this empowering fifth week. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope that you enjoy it just as much as we have been for the last 5 weeks. These sessions are dedicated to fostering success and inclusivity. This series is designed to provide women and minority business leaders with the essential skills and strategies needed to excel in today's ever-evolving workplace environment. Today's session will be recorded for training and educational purposes. Before we get started, I just wanted to note that to keep the webinar flowing and stay within our 1-hour goal, we have muted everyone. However, we do want to hear from you. I did talk to Sonya beforehand, and I think she said she's probably going to go through the slides. And then at the end, we can have some discussion and answer questions. You can put things in the chat, and I'll direct those to Sonya after her presentation is completed. And again, we love the discussion, so please, if you have any questions, jot them down. If you don't want to put them in the chat, and that's usually what I do, and we'll get back to those. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce one of our remarkable speakers who will be sharing her insights with us about the importance of public speaking and leadership. Miss Sonya Vanhook. She is the Director of Educational Outreach at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education and Business Proficiency excuse me, from TPU, a Master of Science in Business Administration from BU, and a Graduate Certificate in E-Marketing from UVA. Wow! Additionally, she earned a Master of Science in Business and Industry Training from ODU. Very cool. Sonya is a certified teacher in business and technology in Virginia and is qualified to teach online classes within the Virginia Community College system. She also has a Quality Matters peer reviewer trained. She is also, a Quality Matters peer reviewer trained to evaluate and enhance the quality of online courses. She has taught computer classes at various institutions, including the Centers College for Older Adults program, University of Virginia, UVA College at Wise, Virginia Tech, and Virginia Highlands Community College. She is actively involved in her community, serving as a board member of the American Advertising Federation in Southwest Virginia, and she is a founding officer of the Wolfhills Toastmasters Club, demonstrating her expertise in public speaking and communication. She is also a member of the Washington County Chamber of Commerce and a partner in small business in Bristol. So take it away, Sonya. How impressive. We're so excited that you could give us some time this morning.
Thank you, Billy. It is an honor to be able to speak to your group today. And I'm really impressed that you read that entire list of qualifications. Usually people go through and pick out the ones that they want. And that's why I give you all of them. Just pick the ones that people care about. But thank you for reading all of those. It is a pleasure to meet with all of your participants today. As she said, you should be able to see my screen. So if at any point you don't see my screen, I'm just going to assume that you are seeing it right now. If at any point you do not, then you can just let me know and I will push that share screen one more time. The first part that I'm going to talk about is the importance of public speaking, and we will have different parts to this, but this is where we'll start. And there's my name, Sonia, and then Vanhook with a little H. And I want to thank.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Cindy just brought it to my attention. I didn't even notice. Could we, that little, at the very bottom of your screen, there's a little, it looks like it's standing on, hit presenter mode, and it might help us with the slideshow look on the screen. Oh, perfect.
Do you see it now?
Yes, ma'am. So sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, that's perfectly fine. I want you to interrupt me if something is not exactly right. I thought you were going to say we couldn't see your screen at all. And so then I was going to have to troubleshoot just a little bit. Let's talk about some famous speeches. Here's an example: Gettysburg Address, November the 19th, 1863. It was the dedication of a military cemetery at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. President Abraham Lincoln delivered the speech. It was one of the most memorable speeches in American history, fewer than 275 words, and it reminded a weary public to fight and win the Civil War. This shows me that speeches don't have to be long in order for them to be memorable and important. There are different types of speeches, and informative speech is the most commonly used. It happens daily. This is just somewhere where we give information. It could be academic or professional knowledge. It could be a progress report, directions on how to use a product. All of these are different examples of the most common type of speech, just an information speaking, informative speaking. This could be before a group, or it could be just on one-on-one. There's persuasive speaking. This is a group influence. Let's say you have a group of people and you're going to try to decide where to go for lunch. I don't know if you guys participate in this activity, but I have a group of friends who go out to lunch regularly, and we will spend 15 to 20 minutes deciding where do we want to go. And I think I see that as a huge waste of time. But I'm kind of examining my friends and saying, all right, now who is going to take the lead? Who is going to try to be more persuasive to try to persuade this group? Oh, I want to go to, let's say, Olive Garden, and here are my reasons why. It could be a candidate debate. During election season, you're going to hear a lot of these types of persuasive speeches. It could be to motivate others, such as a coach in a locker room. It could be an employment interview, and it could be a sales pitch. All of these are different examples of persuasive speaking. Now, there's entertainment speaking, such as an award ceremony. I'd like to thank the Academy for this award kind of a thing, and you hear that a lot where people give speeches. A wedding toast, a comedy sketch is a type of entertaining speaking. Poetry reading. Why are we focusing on all these kinds of speakers and different kind of speeches? It's because developing leadership skills, it means a good speaker is usually a good leader, and a good leader has opportunities. A good leader, you will be given more opportunities in social settings, your career, and other aspects of your life. Well, what makes an effective speaker? Number one is eye contact. Now, this is really hard to do on Zoom, but I'm doing my best to look at my camera, to look at my screens, to look at my notes, to look at the gallery. All of these things are trying to get my attention, but eye contact is what makes an effective speaker. If you were in a room, then you would be looking directly at your audience. Move your view. If you are standing on stage and you've got people over here and people over here, then you need to sweep the room. Your eyes should move across the room so you're speaking to everybody. Talk, don't read. If you have PowerPoint slides or any other learning platform types of slides, and you have every word up there, then I can read it myself. I don't really need you to talk to me and to read it for me. So that's why you need to just put your bullet points up on your slides so that you can talk to your audience, don't read to them. Your voice is your instrument. You are the only person who can control your voice. And so you need to be able to control your voice and speak to your audience, speak louder when it's necessary, and speak softer when it calls for that. Use your hand gestures and watch for body language. Be careful of your own body language. If you are standing up there with your arms crossed like this, that tells me that you're not open to suggestions. You're not open to question and answer and these type of things. And then if I look at my audience members and I'm looking for that. But if you see people that are leaning forward, that tells me that they are hanging on your every word, that they are listening to what you have to say. So be aware of the body language that you have and the body language that you're seeing from your audience. I took this poll from the Washington Post, and it says, what are you afraid of? Number one says public speaking. People are afraid of things. You see the normal things like spiders and snakes and drowning and fear of heights. All these things are on here. But the fear of public speaking is number one. And that really surprised me. And then as I went down through the list, I kind of started to doubt the Washington Post because look at the fourth one from the bottom. People are afraid of zombies. I don't know. I think these people have been watching a little bit much, too many movies and too much TV for that to actually make it to the list. But I know people who would rather take an F in class or just not get the promotion if they had to give a public speech. So let's talk about controlling your fear. This particular PowerPoint comes from Toastmasters International. That's that little logo that you see on the left of my slides. This one is called Controlling Your Fear. If people are terrified of public speaking, well, let's look into that and see if there's anything we need to know about that. Here are some things that we refer to as anxiety triggers. New or an unknown situation. I once knew a person who had to be 30 minutes early to every event that he attended because it was an unknown, if it's an unknown room, and sometimes even a known room, because everybody entering that space was entering his space, he called it. And it was just an anxiety of a new or unknown situation, or even being in a familiar situation with unknown people there. The risk of failure could be an anxiety trigger. A potential for feeling foolish might trigger other people. And then the possibility of boring the audience. I think that one's the least one of my concerns, is thinking that the audience will be bored, but it is a possibility that you need to think about. I guess with me being a teacher, most of these people have to take this class or have to attend whatever session I'm giving. And so that's why I think the possibility of boring them, they have to take it for a grade. And I do want to make it as interesting as I possibly can. So that one might affect me just a little bit. What are anxiety symptoms? Increased heart rate. Have you felt it? You've been in a place or a situation where you could actually feel your heart pounding in your chest, butterflies in the stomach. Now, there's not literally butterflies in your stomach, but it feels like it. That anxiety in your stomach, where your stomach feels very upset, that's another symptom of anxiety. Uncontrollable shakes. Have you ever seen somebody stand up? Maybe they're holding a microphone and you can see the microphone shaking, or maybe they're holding a piece of paper, their notes, and you can see those notes shaking. I've seen it. I've seen it in other people. And years ago, I've seen it in myself. I have seen my paper shake so badly that I had trouble reading them. Lightheadedness is another anxiety symptom. And then dizziness was the last one. I clicked a little too soon, but dizziness was the last one there. And these can be serious situations. I mean, you could literally pass out if you let those anxiety symptoms take over. So let's talk about managing some of those things. What can we do? Number one is get experience. Practice in front of a mirror. If you are scheduled to give a speech, let's say even a toast at a wedding, you need to practice that speech in front of a mirror. Get used to hearing yourself say those words. Get used to feeling how it feels to stand up. Don't practice sitting down in front of a mirror. Practice standing up just exactly or as close as you can make it to the actual way you're going to do it. Rehearse in front of family and friends. Now, this depends on who your family and friends are. My family and friends would just laugh. But practice in front of family and friends who would give you supportive feedback, or maybe even possibly a pet. If I am going to give a speech and I practice in front of my little dog, that dog looks at me like every word is the most wonderful thing he's ever heard. And he'll tilt his head and he'll just listen to what I'm going to say. So practice that. Give presentations before other groups anywhere you can. Volunteer to get up and give a speech. How do I manage this anxiety? Visualization. Use your thought process to achieve positive results. You will hear coaches say, visualize yourself standing at the free throw line and actually making the basket. If you notice a basketball player, when they go to the free throw line, they have a routine. Either they bounce the ball 3 times and then shoot, or bounce it once, hold it, take a deep breath and shoot. If you notice, they all have a specific routine that they have practiced over and over, and they have visualized themselves giving that. I once had a class of high schoolers who, more than the usual amount, well, this was right after 2020. In 2020, nobody stood up and gave a class report. We were all on camera, some of them with their cameras off, and they didn't speak. And then they came out of that and were in a class, and several of them were really terrified of public speaking, standing up and giving a class report. And I went through this with them. I said, we all were sitting in their seats, and I stood at the back, and I told them to visualize yourself standing there in front of the lectern and giving a speech and being successful at it. I don't know if it helped them or not, but anyway, we got through the class. Managing your anxiety, another example we have is relaxation techniques. All right, isometric exercises and breathing techniques are two that are common suggestions on how to address these things. Push your seat back just a little bit and put your arms together in front of you. We're going to do some of those exercises combined with the techniques. All right, your cameras are off, but I'm going to trust that you're doing this with me. This will help you. I have my arms extended, and what I'm going to do is, as my arms spread apart like this, straight across, as my arms start together and spread apart, I'm going to take a deep breath in, a deep cleansing breath. Ready? In. Hold that breath as your arms come up. And then as your arms go down, release the breath. And this is back to our starting position. So we're going to start here. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. That is one of the most common exercises that I see and breathing techniques that you would do before you would get up and give a speech. I worked with a singing group, and before they would sing, I would ask them to go through that exercise to get used to taking that deep breath in and to kind of calm their nerves before they went out and did their performance. So this is professional techniques that you could use to increase your comfortability before you go out and give your speech. Now, you may not be in a place where you can actually, before your speech, do these exercises, but just the deep breathing will give you that effect, that calming effect. You breathe in through your nose, you hold it for 2 seconds, out through your mouth, and that will calm your nerves. All right, let's talk about another way of managing your anxiety. It's normal to feel nervous. Think about that. When you feel that, your heart pumping and your stomach is churning, you think, I'm alive. I'm ready to make a difference. That's what I encourage people to think when they feel that, because it is absolutely normal to feel nervous. Your audience won't notice your nervousness unless you draw attention to it. Have you ever heard someone speak and they'll say something, I'm glad this lectern, they'll usually say podium, I'm glad this podium is here in front of me, because you won't be able to see my knees knocking together because I'm standing behind this. And what they're doing is they're just drawing attention to the fact that they're nervous. I expect you to be nervous. Don't draw attention to it. Just do your deep breathing and then continue with your speech. And use these methods to exhibit confidence. It's okay if you need to hold on to that lectern to keep from shaking. You can hold on to that. Have your notes right there and hold on to that. And that's perfectly fine. All right, we're going to talk about a type of formal discussion with the goal of reaching an agreement between two or more parties. This is negotiation. I was going to make you try to guess, but I'll just tell it. It's often included in a compromise in order to reach an agreement that satisfies all parties involved. When we talk about negotiation, we need to talk about two parties. Usually we have two parties. Sometimes I've been in a negotiation that had more than one. But a compromise means not both parties gets exactly what they want. It'll be either be one party is happy with it and another party will be unhappy with it. But in a negotiation, everybody gives just a little bit. Well, you may say, the ability to negotiate successful will enhance your efficiency, aid in your ability to achieve your goals or your organization's goals, and assist you in building and maintaining relationships. You may say something, well, I don't need to know how to negotiate. I'll just tune out. Oh, really? Are you married or in a relationship? You need to know how to negotiate. Are you a parent or a teacher and two children want the same toy? You're going to need to negotiate. Are you in business? Are you a customer? You may need to negotiate with your customers or your suppliers. All of these are examples of where we need to negotiate and why it's important. Are you a member of a community? In a leadership position, you may need to know how to negotiate, especially if you're a board member.
Recording in progress.
If you are a board member of a community leadership program, then you need to have negotiation skills. You begin with preparation. Well, that was pretty, wasn't it? When you can negotiate, if you're going to negotiate for a raise and you go into a situation and you've got your arms crossed and you've got your mad face on and you're trying to negotiate for a raise, then I'm really not going to be impressed with how you are handling yourself. I'm looking for a reason to fill out all that paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork that I have to fill out. And if I'm going to fill out all that paperwork, I need to know that there's a good reason for me to have to do that. Know your goals before you go into a negotiation situation. All right, let's say that you're the person that people are coming to. Then that might be a good example of where you do your homework, you listen openly, you watch the body language of the people who are coming to you to talk about negotiation, and then you can reach some kind of a settlement. Find your voice. Let's talk about how everybody was so nervous about public speaking. There were many things that the anxiety, the exercises, all of this, and you want to really concentrate and improve your public speaking. Well, this is another one of Toastmasters' canned presentation. This one's called Find Your Voice. What is Toastmasters? You've heard me use that word. You saw the little logo. What is Toastmasters? It's a worldwide nonprofit educational organization that empowers people to become more effective leaders and more effective communicators. It's a network of over 364,000 members and more than 16,000 clubs across 145 countries. I have been to the International conference that Toastmasters have. A couple of years ago, it was in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's very close to where I am. So I went over there. And the thing that I remember most, it's not networking with people from all across the world. That was very impressive, but that's not what I remember the most. It wasn't seeing people that I know and being able to talk to them and seeing people that made the effort to come to a conference. It was what they call the Parade of Flags, and they had 145 flags representing all these different countries. And it was just so impressive when they had somebody from that country. They tried to get somebody from that specific country. If there wasn't somebody, then they would get a volunteer to carry that flag. But seeing that parade of flags come down the aisle, it was absolutely beautiful and breathtaking to think that this is an organization that I can be a part of, that people from 145 different countries, I may not speak the same language as this person, but we have something in common, and that's we are studying Toastmasters and trying to be better speakers and better leaders. It's an effective provider of dynamic, high value, experimental communication and leadership skills development. You'll notice it concentrates on two things: the public speaking aspect and the leadership. Those are the two things that this club focuses on. Now, we call it a club to make it a little bit less like a class, but it could be called that. In the meeting, a person practices what they're going to say. Let's say we actually had during election time, we have a lot of people who want to be elected, let's say potential politicians, we'll call. They want to be elected. They will come and practice their campaign speech to us, and we will give them feedback and give them things like, well, you talk so fast, I couldn't understand exactly what you were saying. And then, of course, there's the filler words. We try to avoid using like, those are filler words that make you sound a little bit less professional. And so they practice not using those words. I can tell you that next year, Toastmasters will turn 100 years old. And I just think that's absolutely amazing that here's an organization that has been ongoing for 100 years. I'm a member of Wolfhills Toastmasters. And in my interview, they told you that I was a founding member of Wolfhills Toastmasters. I can tell you how that started. A lady named Kathy moved here to this area. I'm in Abingdon, Virginia. She moved here from Baltimore, and she looked around and she says, there's not a Toastmasters club here. There was one in Bristol, but she didn't want to drive to Bristol. She wanted one here in Abingdon. She met with David Matlock, who's the executive director of the Higher Education Center. And she said, you have the space, you have the facilities, you have everything we need to have a Toastmasters club. So David and Kathy and I had a meeting, and David said, all right, you two just take over, make it happen. Do whatever you need. You've got the room. Just make it happen. And I said, okay, David, that's wonderful. I'll do it. But one question, what is Toastmasters? And at that point, I had heard the word, but I totally did not understand what the goal was. I didn't understand about the meetings or anything. And I worked with Kathy, and we started along with 20 other people. You had to have 20 people to have a charter member. We started with 20 other people. We recruited them, got them to sign the papers. And that's how the Wolfhills Toastmasters was formed. We meet on the second and fourth Thursday of each month from 3:15 to 4:15. Our group is made up mostly of business professionals, and you'll see people from all different businesses who are there to increase their own leadership skills and their public speaking skills so that they can further their business. We meet in person or online. We also meet by Zoom. So if you're here on the Zoom call, then you know how easy it is to hop on a call. You take away that I don't have time to travel there. You take away that travel time, or even I'm out of town for that particular week. Well, that's fine. You can just hop on your computer and come to the meeting. We have a Facebook page where you'll see pictures. You may recognize some of the people that are in this club. You can see pictures of people and them holding their little certificate of achievement and very proud that they are a member of our club. And then Toastmasters has a find a club option. what if you want to go someplace in person, but you're in Richmond, Virginia? Well, you can go to toastmasters.org, click on Find a Club, and say, help me find a club in Richmond, Virginia. And then you'll be able to find one located anywhere. We talked about those 145 different countries. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all your beautiful faces. And I'm available to take questions. This is my email address. Notice it's s.vanhook. They put the little dot in there to make it more complicated for you. s.vanhook@swcenter.edu. There's my phone number, 276-619-4350. All right, Billy, I think you said you were going to monitor the chat for me. And are there any questions? And of course, if anybody wants to unmute and just ask aloud, you're certainly welcome to do so.
Yeah, sure. I don't know that we have any. We were chatting a little bit about other things, but I don't think there's any direct questions. Does anybody have any direct questions for Sonya? I always have some questions, but I'll let them have the first chance at it.
And that's fine if they.
Yeah. So, what does a Toastmaster meeting look like? Because I think I would like to start attending because I've heard wonderful things and I could improve my public speaking. But so, what's a typical meeting like?
All right, that's a very good question. There are 18 to 20 members in our club. I'll just describe our club. There are 18 to 20 members, but at any given week, there are going to be people who have a work conflict. Remember, I said we are made up of business professionals, and there's a meeting that oftentimes I get this. My boss just called a 3:00 meeting. I won't be at our Toastmasters meeting today, and that's fine. There's no penalty for not attending or anything. So a room would have between 12 and 15 people. Some of those would be in person. Some of those would be online. We actually have a member from Canada who joined our particular club because his son is in that club. And that just gives them another reason to be able to see each other twice a month. And then they get to see each other and talk to each other and see each other grow.
They have something to share. Yeah, that's cool.
And then we generally have 2 prepared speeches. A prepared speech is generally 5 to 7 minutes. Now you think, well, 5 minutes is not a long time until you stand up in front of a group and you can't think of what to say. And then 5 minutes becomes a very long time. There is a timer that will help you and tell you when you get to 5 minutes. In some clubs, they have a little green card that they'll hold up. Green means you've reached the minimum. Yellow means start wrapping it up. And then red means, okay, it's time's up. You need to get off there. It's a skill where you develop mentally, where you can feel when you have spoken for 5 minutes. If you have a professional speech that you give all the time, you will know at what point of your speech when you have reached the 5-minute mark. So we have 2 prepared speeches. Then we have what is called table topics. People will give you a topic that is read sometimes off a card, sometimes just off the table topics off the top of their head. And you have to speak about this topic for 1 minute. Some that I was reading last night is how to wash an elephant. How you have 1 minute to think on your feet and prepare to say, you have to speak for 1 minute and you don't know the questions. So you're standing in front of the group and then you get to think on your feet. This is really good for our people who are going into a debate, a political debate, and we have asked them, well, how do you stand on, history lessons in school or whatever? And then they have to speak about that particular topic for 1 minute.
That's really interesting to me because, we have to do workshops and stuff all the time. And my friend, you know how you're talking about everybody's like, that's their biggest fear. She's like, I have no idea how you do that. And she's a homeschool mom, right? And I was like, it's not that difficult when it's something that you really care about and you have a lot of experience at, right? Like that's not a challenge for me because I love it. And it's just easy for me. Like if someone asked her to talk about homeschooling for an hour, easy breezy, right? but it's going out of that box, right? So like the table topics is perfect for that. Like I think that would be a challenge for me to have a different topic and how to organize your thoughts and communicate those at the same time. I think that would take practice. That would be challenging for sure.
It does. It's a skill that you could work on and practice. And that Toastmasters meeting is very encouraging. It's a place where we can practice our speech, make mistakes. I'd rather make a mistake in front of my Toastmasters club than in front of this group. So I want to practice what I'm going to say and get feedback. That's the last portion of our meeting, is someone will actually give you feedback and say, during your speech, you said the word and like, and 15 times. And most people are not aware that that word is coming out of their mouth.
Yes,
It's a
listen,
crutch.
I tell you what, going back and like so recording yourself, like for you
Yes.
guys that may have to do like a wedding speech or something like that, when we go back and watch these videos or these sessions that we do, I'm like, oh my goodness, how many times did I say or I'm like got my hands right here. That's really distracting. But I do find it interesting that most public, professional public speakers or say that there is a certain amount of hand gesturing, right? That is encouraged. So like
But
there's
not
this,
too much.
but not too much. So I don't know where I'll lay in that, but do you guys, I wonder if any of you guys have any moments to where I mean, I think April and Jenny, you guys probably have to do workshops and stuff like that. Do you still get nervous, or is it something that you guys just kind of roll with now? If y'all want to speak, if not, you don't have to.
They have a fear of public speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm still fairly new, so I've only been in this job since August the 1st.
Oh,
So yeah, I still get a little nervous.
yeah. I think the breathing exercise is really good. I haven't ever done it like that before, but I'm gonna start. But I always like 3 deep breaths, and it's amazing how much that will shake the nerves out, right?
I'm looking forward to trying that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good one.
You can focus if you're holding a microphone like this with practice. If that microphone is shaking, you can learn to focus on that microphone, mind over body kind of thing, and hold it still. But it takes lots of practice and lots of focus with that. I have better luck with the breathing exercises personally to calming myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what happens, like your physical reactions. My voice will shake sometimes if I'm nervous, and I'm like, and then you concentrate on that, right? So you've completely lost all focus. So to bring that back, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot going on. Nadine said she typically starts out by asking some sort of question to get the audience to talk. They are more likely to interact with me during the presentation that way. Nadine, I agree. I do much better with discussion than I do with just, presenting or that type of thing. I think it calms me. Yeah, talking at people. Yes, same, right? Like, and I think for me, maybe you too, Nadine, because I kind of get this from you from our last sessions, is it just reassures me, like that it's beneficial to the audience, right? Like it's a reassurance of that. Now, on a little bit of a deeper level, I will say that I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about people who are the best speakers are usually very empathetic people, or because or people who like people pleasers, right, are usually the best public speakers, and that's because they can actually feel like what the audience is like, the vibe, right? And so if they feel from the audience that they're not quite there, not getting it, they will readjust to make sure that they're getting a positive response. It's like anticipating the other's feelings, and not everybody can do that. So So I think that was an interesting concept. Who loves giving presentations? Who said that? Nadine did? Of course. It gives me a chance to show my expertise and interact with my potential clients. Awesome. Awesome. I love that you love giving them. I don't sound like a crook. Yeah.
Well,
Who are
Nadine,
you usually speaking with, Nadine, in a group besides like, are you speaking at conferences? Contractors, engineers, anyone that will listen. You're probably in a room, probably a male dominated room. Sonya, do you have any tips or experience with that? Maybe like being a woman in a male dominated.
yes, I have at the beginning of my career, not so much now, but it was much more male dominated. I just go in there and have the confidence that what I have is valuable. And I don't let anybody speak down to me. And the whole shaking hands thing, I actually went to a professional course on what is expected with the shaking hands. And of course, now we had COVID and nobody shakes hands anymore. We just wave now. But just go into the room like you are a valuable person and there's a reason that you're there. That's my only tip on that. Don't let people talk down to you or don't, try to look up to them. We are all on the same level.
Yeah, I think it's a total mindset thing, right? Like it's typically about you versus what everybody else thinks. You've got to think that you're worthy enough before and that's where all the insecurities and all. So it's a really much deeper topic than just, having some confidence when you or know what you're talking about. It's we've all got that negative self-talk in our heads. It's really, really loud sometimes, but switching that right to the positive, it takes some practice. But it is amazing how powerful it is.
And that's absolutely true. And I do believe in starting each day. I am amazed at how many days something that I did 20 years ago, maybe I blew a speech or did something wrong, and that will come into my mind. And I'm thinking, why am I wasting energy thinking about remembering something that? And then I immediately try to remember something good. I replace those negative thoughts with something good. The negative thoughts will come, they come naturally, easily, but I forcibly think about the positive things and then try to keep my day on a positive level. Oh, there's all kinds of quotes coming in. Let's see, all kinds of chats coming in.
Hey, Sonya,
Sandy?
I will just note that I know everybody is not comfortable in speaking in person, but if you own a business or you planning on growing in a business, it's very, very important, especially as an entrepreneur and business owner. Even if you're going to a bank or lender like Locust, like we are, you're actually pitching your business idea, and that's why it's important or vital that you get comfortable. Even if you're going to be a supplier, sometimes a business you have to pitch it to allow you to sell their products and services. So I highly recommend folks to get involved in Toastmasters and learn those skills that they need.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not something that comes automatic. It's a skill you have to develop. Have you already talked about their elevator speech?
No, but I think that's a great idea, Sonya, to mention that and how to effectively communicate that in probably less than 30 seconds, really. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. An elevator speech. The name of it means if you get on an elevator with, say, an investor, somebody who you hear them say, oh, I'm looking and investing in a new company, and you are starting a new company. What can you say to them in the time it takes to get on an elevator and ride up, let's say, 2 or 3 floors? Now, in New York, you might have 20 floors, but here we're only going to have 3 to 5 floors. What could you say in less than a minute about your business to influence that person to invest with you? Now, I can't write that speech, it has to be written by you about your company and with some input from these people who are here to help you, like Billy and Sandy. And even myself, I can help you with the development of the speech, but you have to know that speech well enough so you can spit it out in 30 to 60 seconds and have the right words, the effective words that will tell that person. That's the persuasive speech we were talking about at the beginning of this presentation. Have the right words. It is something that you memorize, at least the points. You may not memorize every single word or sentences, but you memorize the points. You need to invest in my business because number one, this, number two, this, and number three, this. And in conclusion, we would really appreciate your support. That kind of a thing. You need to write it and know it and be able to give that elevator speech at a moment's notice anytime you would step onto an elevator with the right person. Now, it may be a banker that you might run into at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, or it may be somebody else in another business setting, but that's very important that you have your elevator speech written, practiced, and ready to deliver at a moment's notice. And you can practice that at a Toastmasters meeting.
That's right. Nadine said this is how she does hers. She said, my name is Nadine with her company, I solve. So yeah, like a value proposition. I've heard it called that before, Nadine. That's a great idea to insert what your product or service solves for somebody. That's perfect. Yep. Do you know of people that need my services? Awesome. Yeah, put that in there too. That's right. I think a lot of people forget to ask for that sometimes, like for
Ask for the
referrals.
action.
Yeah.
Call for an action.
That's great. Good stuff. That's right. Yeah, keeping it short because people's attention, and nowadays especially, right? Like our attention, we have very short attention spans with phones and stuff.
Sandy
for a
says,
pitch. Yeah.
yes, in the business plan challenge offered around the region, we require competitors present a 3 to 8 minute pitch, and they are graded on that. Your pitch is just as important as your business plan.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. Yeah, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, right, Nadine? Do you have, I'm sure it feels a little weird at first. Now, Sonya, you were a business owner as well in Bristol, is that right?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
My husband and I own J&N Tool.
Okay.
Well, J&N Tool and Supply. My husband has been in the construction business for over 20 years, and he took the great ideas from Home Depot and from Lowe's and all of the other places that he's worked and put them together and started his own business. And he's been very successful in that. I'm very happy that he has his own business.
Wonderful, wonderful. Nadine's actually, what's your actual, I don't want to mess it up, Nadine.
I focus on stormwater management on construction sites and post-construction. So I work a lot on commercial projects and things like that. I'm controlling my frogism right now.
Thank you for joining us, Nadine, even though you don't feel well. I really appreciate it.
You know that I love talking, right? Like that is my God-given gift. I actually had speech therapy when I was a kid, and boy, did they have any idea what they were doing.
I love that. That's great. Very good.
I need to add one more plug for Sandy. My husband had his own business for several years, and then Sandy showed us how to register and sell to the state, and that is now actually a major portion of his business.
That's
selling
wonderful
to the state.
Yeah, she did actually our very first session for the series on the importance of that and how helpful it can be and, beneficial. And it's still something that a lot of, especially for women and minorities, right? It can be, you get a leg up and a little extra push, right? When you're doing that. Does anybody else have any questions or anything else you want to add?
You need to read this statement. It says, Sandy is the most amazing person ever.
I do need to read that statement.
Nadine said that. Thank you, Nadine, for complimenting my friend Sandy.
That's right. She really is. She is a rock star. I'm going to heart it. There we go.
Oh, I'll heart it too.
Uh, so I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up since we're closing in on time. Let's see. We just wanted to let's see. We want to ensure that your learning experience remains both comprehensive and accessible. So, Sonya, after this, if you wouldn't mind to share your PowerPoint slides, what I
I'd
like
be
to do
happy
is
to.
send it out to all of the attendees. And then there are some registered that don't make it, but they like to have the information as well. You guys, I am putting in that feedback link in those emails. You can either do it now, or you can, if you're going to attend all sessions, do it at the end. But it would be really beneficial to us if we could figure out, things that we could do to make it better for you guys in the future. And if we get to do another, and I'm so sure Sonya would be glad to help you if you need some more information about Toastmasters. In
I'll
closing,
put
Sonya.
my email in the chat
Oh, wonderful.
again. I think it was on that last slide, but I'd already stopped sharing.
Good. Perfect. Thank you. Sonya, we are so incredibly grateful for your time, your wisdom, and the invaluable knowledge that you've shared with us today. It was really very good. Thank you. Your contributions have made today's session exceptional, and we really do look forward to the opportunity of welcoming you back in the future. Thank you,
I love
guys.
your group. I'm happy to help out any way you can. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you guys for always showing up. I really do love the fact that it's the same people are consistently coming to the meetings and participating. It's really cool when it works out well, and I really am very grateful for you guys' time. Next week we do not have a session, so we're off next week. Our next session will be the following Tuesday. Nope, I'm sorry, I lied to you. It's actually on a Wednesday because Tuesday's election day. So we're not going to take up anybody's time that day either. So our next session will be on Wednesday, November 8th at 11 a.m. That discussion will be on the importance of building and leveraging professional networks. Learn about strategies for networking effectively and building supportive relationships. Kaylin Hunter, who is the Senior Destination Development Manager of the Virginia Tourism Corporation, will be our speaker that day. And if anybody knows Kaylin, I'm sure, Sonya, do you know Kaylin?
I don't, but I look forward to joining some
Please
more of your
join us.
sessions.
Yeah, please join us. Sandy knows Kaylin, and if there's somebody that can talk about networking, it's her. She is excellent at it. So we hope you all can join us, and I'll send you reminders and stuff about that as well. Oh, let's see. Somebody said in here. April.
We're getting some thank yous in here.
Okay. Well, all right. That sounds good. Now, if you guys need anything, you just let us know. But in the meantime, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.